Non ho parole, dice Cecilia Zorzi, la giovane velista italiana imbarcata su Austria Team Genova. Abbiamo voluto iniziare così con Cecilia Zorzi, questa giovane velista italiana che non ha parole davanti al surfing sulle onde dell'oceano. Finalmente, dice Cecilia, con la sua maschera per evitare naturalmente tutti gli schizzi, tutte le onde dell'oceano, del suo oceano che sta surfando, abbiamo voluto iniziare in questo modo il secondo episodio di TOR Stories, la serie che vi porta intorno al mondo in regata con queste barche volanti. Guardate che immagini incredibili. Si è conclusa la prima tappa, ci arriveremo, racconteremo brevemente cosa è successo a Capoverde, a Mindelo, ma intanto ci dobbiamo rendere conto di queste immagini spesso girate con i droni dagli stessi velisti che sono a bordo, quindi l'evoluzione tecnologica che consente il racconto, la narrazione della vela anche oceanica, anche negli angoli più lontani del pianeta. C'è qualcuno a bordo di una barca che corre a 20 nodi, che è in grado di far volare un drone, che insegue lo stesso yacht e fa queste immagini incredibili, stupende. Questo è qualcosa che una volta non avevamo, adesso ce l'abbiamo. Ci lamentiamo spesso di aver perso alcune cose, ma sono tantissime anche quelle che abbiamo guadagnato. Queste immagini lo dimostrano. Davvero senza parole, per parafrasare Cecilia Zorzi. Insieme a lei su Team Genova gli austriaci, che sono vitaminizzati anche dalla partecipazione genovese, c'era Alberto Riva, e poi la terza italiana a questo Giro del Mondo, a questa prima tappa da Alicante a Mindelo, cioè Francesca Klapčić, che avremo anche modo di vedere in parecchie immagini in questa puntata, immagini sempre bellissime, sempre strepitose, sempre che ci portano in qualche modo a respirare il salmastro di questo oceano che è nel nome della regata, di Ocean Race, TOR Stories. Allora, si è conclusa, dicevamo, la prima tappa e vi portiamo con le immagini all'arrivo di Mindelo. Pensate all'emozione dopo 1900 miglia dei 4 del team di Kevin Escoffier, di team Holcim PRB. Stiamo parlando ovviamente di francesi, sponsor che sentiamo spesso da anni, PRB, presenti al Vendée Globe, presenti a tante regate. Questa invece è la vittoria nella classe VO65 di Wind Whisper. I VO65, come vi dicevo, hanno visto il terzo posto di Team Genoa, una volata di Team Genoa. Ma parliamo un po' di Team Holcim PRB, quello che ha vinto, l'Imoca che ha vinto questa regata. Lo facciamo attraverso le immagini sempre dell'Onboard Reporter, gli Onboard Reporter sempre più protagonisti, e davvero ci affidiamo un po' a loro in qualche modo, anche per imbastire queste puntate di TOR Stories. Abbiamo tutti voglia di andare in oceano insieme a questi incredibili protagonisti. Abbiamo tante volte parlato di astronavi, e qui davvero il termine si avvicina sempre di più, e parliamo forse anche di astronauti quando parliamo di questi velisti oceanici. E attenzione, perché uno degli l'ospite principale di questa puntata di TOR Stories, intanto qui ho ancora Team Holcim PRB in Atlantico durante questa prima tappa. Guardate le planate continue volando sui foil con tutte le vele a riva, incredibile. Vi dicevo che l'ospite di questa puntata è proprio un grande onboard reporter, lo scoprirete tra poco, non voglio spoilerare, però vivremo a bordo tante situazioni che si sono manifestate nel corso di questa regata. Vi dicevo Mindelo, Capoverde, questa è stata la grande novità di Ocean Race di quest'anno, un'altra delle scommesse di Richard Brisius e dell'organizzazione della regata. Per la prima volta una tappa in un paese centrafricano, una sorta di boa in mezzo all'Atlantico, un punto di riferimento, un porto battuto da tante navi per tanti anni di storia, e oggi è diventato anche un luogo turistico, però è stato anche un grande luogo di accoglienza di The Ocean Race. Questo è l'altro aspetto molto importante, perché abbiamo visto tanta gente in banchina ad attendere le barche all'arrivo. Quindi Mindelo, novità, Capoverde, chissà se continuerà anche in futuro. Vi dicevo che molto si gioca a bordo, le immagini che arrivano, queste onde che posseggono in qualche modo le barche, i velisti che sono squassati, sempre bagnati da tutti queste frangenti che si rompono intorno alla barca, si manovra tanto a bordo. Chi è che fa queste immagini? Chi è che ci manda queste immagini di fatica, di impegno, di sudore, di serate bagnate, zuppe, fradice, di stanchezza? Sono loro, gli onboard reporter. Noi abbiamo incontrato e parlato con quello che forse è il principe degli onboard reporter, 4 giri al mondo, Amory Ross, qui su Saily, intervistato dalla nostra Francesca Frazza ad Alicante, Amory Ross su TOR Stories.
So we're here at the ocean race with Amory Ross, which is the onboard reporter for 11 Hour. So hi Amory, what's up? All good?
Great. We just had another fun Pro-Am day on the water off Alicante. It's beautiful here. It doesn't feel like winter at all. And winds are light, which makes a day like today where you're really trying to entertain the guests and have some conversations a lot of fun.
So this is your fourth lap around the world, isn't it?
It is, yes, in my third class, which is probably looking back, the most interesting part about it. And the course is a little similar. Obviously, the Southern Ocean leg is a little longer, but the biggest difference for me is the team and the boat that we'll be sailing. It's a completely different animal to the 65s and the Volvo 70s that preceded them.
So the first thing that I want to ask you is how you deal with all that noise in the boat. That's like, I've been there and it's crazy.
It's really hard. You sort of break down the differences in the Volvo 65 to the IMOCA, and the foils are the most apparent. And the foils lift the boat and we slam around, but the noise is something that I don't think a lot of people anticipate us talking about. And we live inside of a drum. And as soon as the foils start working, the harmonics, the vibration, they get really, really noisy, and it never abates. It's just constant. I don't want to say that you get used to it, because that would make it seem like it eventually becomes something that you're kind of normalized to, but at some point you accept that that's just the way that you're living, and you start yelling and there's no alternative. And it makes everything hard. It makes talking hard, it makes sleeping hard.
Makes sleeping impossible.
It really sometimes feels like it is. Yeah, the combination of the way the boat is moving and the constant noise, sleeping is going to be a really big challenge when the boat is going fast.
Well, I saw where you are going to sleep, so I got a glimpse of that.
You saw where we're going to try to sleep.
Yeah, I saw that. It was amazing. So tell me a little bit about your job. I know that you cannot touch anything, you cannot help during maneuvers. Is that hard? Because I know that you used to sail.
I love to sail, and the hardest thing about it is that I see now only 4 people struggling, and there's nothing that I can do to help. And I'm with a bunch of professionals who understand that if I could help, I would, so I don't worry about that. But it's just part of the job, and it presents an opportunity for me to do other things, like use cameras and move around and capture the story. And it prioritizes the role, which is a very important one. The last thing that I think we want is for someone in my position to be there for the sailing and not focus on telling a good story. It's part of the job, and you accept it when you sign up, and it's just, as you said, we're all good people, and we want to help when possible, especially when the going gets tough. And they know I can't, so fortunately they're still my friends.
What is the hardest part of your job? Would you say it's this one?
The hardest part of my job is changing. I think the hardest part of my job this race is going to make life on these boats seem interesting. And the 65s are outside. You have this big ocean behind you, and someone's driving with a wheel, and everyone's doing something, and you can see wildlife. And on our boat, we kind of have none of that. We're inside, and we have to, as storytellers, have to make something essentially, like living in a small room in a house for 6 months, interesting. And I think the story is going to be more about the mentality of surviving this race in a small, congested area. I mean, it's more like going to space in a lot of ways. This is our space capsule now. And how is 6 months on board going to change people? And that's a difficult story to tell. You certainly can't do it with a picture in the way that you used to be. Now it's more about the person and what they're feeling and thinking, and how that person evolves over a 6-month period, because we're not going to get the sun that we used to. We're not going to see all the things that on a daily basis we're used to seeing. So that is going to be the most challenging part of my job, is figuring out how to tell this story from a boat that is just so different than anything we've had in the past.
Well, then I imagine that it's hard because you have to take photos, take videos, and then write every day something. So I imagine that that's hard as well.
Yeah, but I should probably say that's the easy part. That's what
Yeah.
I'm here for. And those are three different ways to tell a story. You know, you have writing, which kind of gets to be my story. You've got photography, which I think any good photographer can tell a complete story with one picture. And then the video. The hard part with the video is the editing. We no longer have this beautiful work desk like we used to in the 65s. Now it's as you saw inside the boat, you're kind of sitting in the corner
Yeah.
somewhere on a beanbag and slamming around, or in the cockpit. Sometimes you just have to use your phone because you can't be inside. So editing will be quite a bit more challenging than it used to, but that's the fun part.
It's quite shaky there. So I imagine this is a question that everyone asks you, but how does it feel to be out there?
It's amazing, you know, and you hear it from anyone that's done this before. It is addicting, and we've been so busy the last week, the last 2 weeks, the last 3 years preparing for this race, and we're all here now, and everyone's exhausted. We've all got so much to do to prepare for the race, and when we leave, when you cast those dock lines, it gets really quiet, and you disconnect from all of this. And I think that's probably my biggest draw to doing this race, is the adventure, the exploration, challenging yourself, but just the disconnect. Removing yourself from the noise in a way that is getting so much harder to do every year. We're all so connected these days, and when you sail across oceans and put yourself out there, you really feel that remoteness.
Well, I imagine that you can feel the freedom, and that is a race that changes yourself, like in some ways. Well, more than some ways.
Absolutely, yeah.
Even like on the human part of the job, like I think it changes you completely. So I imagine that after like turning Cape Horn, like you'll start breathing again, because that's all what everyone is talking about, the leg tree.
Yeah, that is. I mean, the focal point of this race seems to be the 40 days down there in the south, and that's going to be the longest leg in the history of the race. And whether you're there for 1 day or 40, it's a place that makes you humble. The waves are really big, and the wind is really strong, and you're by yourself. You know, if something happens, we all have to lean on each other and the competitors around us, because we're going to be really far from everything. But it's a mistake to think that Cape Horn is the end of the leg. The weather can be really volatile as well once you turn Cape Horn. My first race, I remember I made that mistake. Passing Cape Horn, I thought the worst was over with, and we had some really big storms up the coast of South America, and we got walled with 50-knot winds, and it kind of came down out of the mountains and caught us all by surprise. So that leg is going to be challenging from start to finish, all the way into Brazil. And the achievement of getting to Cape Horn and the momentous, symbolic, you know, history of that place in the world, that waypoint, is special, and we have to appreciate it for what it is. And we're leaving the Southern Ocean, but there's still a lot of sailing left to do, so that's going to be a big leg.
Well, there's still half of the race after Cape Horn, and then I imagine like the Gulf of Biscay like can be windy.
Yeah.
The Mediterranean, like outside the Mediterranean, can be windy. So
It's that leg is the most significant one, but that, as you say, that's just about halfway.
yeah, it's halfway.
Yeah.
So what is expected like from your job? Like how much data can you deliver per day?
It's a good question. We don't yet really know the answer, because a lot of it will be limited by the sea state and the way the boat is moving. In good conditions, we'll probably try to achieve exactly what we did with the 65s, which was about a 2 to 3 minute story, a video story per day, 8 photos and a blog. But the line in the IMOCA class between workable conditions and unworkable conditions is really fine. And the boat gets really aggressive and jumping out of the water and slamming around, and at times there's probably going to be days where doing anything is really challenging for us, for the sailors. Editing in particular, I'll probably no longer be able to use a big camera. It might be an iPhone or a GoPro, and those days maybe I'll be lucky to get a couple of pictures and a written story off of it.
Wow.
But always aspire to do as much as possible. we'll see what my limitations are.
And then good luck for the rest of the event.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your time and for the interview. Bye.